What is Learn Outside? Learn Outside is a fascinating approach in the education field that allows students to expand their knowledge beyond the walls of the classroom. It is a metaphor for the idea that learning should be done not just within the walls of the classroom, but also outside of it. It encourages both literal and metaphorical educational attributes, such as outdoor activities, field trips, and hands-on experiences and project-based learning. This experiential approach encourages students to explore their environment and to use it to help them understand their world better. This approach helps student agency and the gaining of a deeper understanding that they can apply in a relevant real-world situation.
Welcome to Learn Outside. Today we are going to be learning more about career exploration through pathways at middle school at Career Middle School. Learn Outside, this is an informal discussion about innovative and effective teaching practices that disrupt the status quo in education. And myself, Dr. Candy Van Busker, Assistant Superintendent at the Career Academy Network of Public Schools, is your host. Alongside with me is
Dr. Marilyn Nash. I'm the K-5 Maker Manager at Success Academy, also part of the Network of Public Schools.
And each week we bring on a superhero guest because we believe that everybody has superhero powers inside them. They just need to be activated. And this week's superhero guest that will be joining us is Miss Maria Riley. She's the middle school principal here at the Career Academy. But before we bring on our superhero guest, let's first start with our Learn Outside moment of the week. Dr. Nash, what is your Learn Outside moment of the week?
My Learn Outside moment this week is when I looked at the projects and was reviewing some of the things we've done this year at Success. I found this project that the fifth graders had been doing. I worked closely with them, and they had been doing reflections in their science journals, and eventually they got to the point where they participated in a Zoom meeting with a zoologist at one of the zoos in Chicago. And they spent quite a bit of time with the zoologist asking questions about animals and the care of animals and their habitats. And once that was done, they wrote more notes and did more research on the animals and habitats. Then they actually went to the zoo and saw the animals they had been talking about. So it was kind of that full circle moment. Then they also came back to their art school and into their classrooms, and they created models of the habitats that would be best for those animals. So they had talked to an expert, someone in the field of zoology. They had created their own pieces, their own research, saw the actual animal. It was just a full experience, and it's just so exciting to see that work in a full scale like that.
Yeah, and once again, I think we bring it up every week. Kolb's system of experiential learning hitting the 4 stages, and it sounds like that definitely happened.
100%.
Yeah. Well, I would like to share, I was on the phone with my great nephew who is 7, and he was telling me he was, digging with great grandma, and they were planting some flowers.
Oh, nice.
And talking about the roots, and and it was pretty neat for him to kind of see the flowers grow. And so it made me think about back when I was a biology teacher, we used to create ecosystems out of 2-liter soda bottles.
Yes.
Do you remember those?
Yes.
And so we are creating one with my great nephew. Aunt Candy, we need to do this, right?
Yes,
so we are cutting up a 2-liter soda bottle, and we are getting our goldfish in the bottom portion.
Nice. Oh, very
and
nice.
then we're planting the seeds in the top, and we've got the filtration system so that the watering is taking place from the aquarium portion, so that we've got that full ecosystem. And just to see his eyes light up and to see the roots grow from those seeds that we've planted, and he sees, the water is being added through the filtration system, and we know we've got the light coming in, and so photosynthesis is taking place, and then how that's impacting the little goldfish on the bottom. So for his little mind to turn, and the excitement behind all of that was definitely my Learn Outside moment of the week. It was a great conversation, and it's so exciting to see their little minds have these aha moments and get excited about the learning.
Well, again, they're touching it, they're seeing it, they can smell the soil, and I mean, it's a whole sensory experience.
Absolutely. Well, and they're reflecting, and so now they're able to create that new knowledge out of what they thought, what they're seeing, what they're doing, and what it really is.
That's right. Yep. Excellent. That's exciting.
Yeah. So lots of fun. Those are our Learn Outside moments of the week. But we are going to go to a superhero commercial break. We'll be right back, and when we come back, we will have Miss Maria Riley, our middle school principal at the Career Academy, with us.
This portion of Learn Outside has been brought to you by Career Academy Summer Jobs.
Our summer job is better than yours.
This message has been brought to you by Career Academy Summer Jobs. Anybody can do it.
Welcome back to Learn Outside with Dr. Candy Van Buskirk, Dr. Nash, and we have our superhero guest, Miss Maria Riley.
Hello.
Our middle school principal at the Career Academy is joining us today. All right, Maria, can you first start by sharing with us how you got to this point today where you are leading the middle school experiential learning pathways, all the incredible things that are going on at the Career Academy Middle School?
Yeah, I've definitely had a pretty varied experience, which is great. Throughout my career, I have been a school leader in private schools and in public schools, and so now in charter schools. And personally, I have taught everything from toddlers to undergrads. So I was very excited to become part of the team, very excited to be part of this initiative, the amazing work that's happening here. A lot of my own personal teaching background was in early childhood, so I've always been a very strong believer in experiential learning, that it's not, that knowledge is not really acquired until you actually do it and touch it and experience it. And that doesn't end when you're a preschooler. Like that is learning through adulthood. So I'm really pleased to be here and be part of that. So that's how I got here.
Well, thanks for sharing. I know that Dr. Nash and we've talked about experiential learning in the past, and just how everything that we learn experientially until we walk in the doors of a school. Then that's when it shifts. From when we were very little, learning how to walk, it was trial and error, and somebody picking you up, to riding your bicycle.
Right.
Maybe you had a dad or a brother that was sending you down the road, right? And you fall off, but then you figure out your balance. And so to see that that's now being brought into the school as the main tool for learning is, we find quite exciting.
Yeah, what you do normally, you keep trying, you persevere.
Right.
I mean, that's how you learn. And then to see that now coming into the school learning process.
I actually use those exact examples with the students all the time. But learning is about doing something you didn't know how to do, and it's going to be bumpy at first, and it takes practice. But then you have some level of mastery.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, the exciting piece why we have you here is experiential learning that is taking place in middle school and pathways. And we were just talking a little bit before the segment got started about pathways, but it's not quite pathways that are at middle school. But if you could explain that to us and how that bridges to high school.
Yes. So we are very fortunate to be part of the network that feeds into our amazing high school. And at our high school, there are 7 pathways: entrepreneurship, agriculture, precision machining, welding, health sciences, and computer science.
Engineering.
And engineering.
No, you're good. There's a few to remember. You're fine.
I was like, I tried to get. And so at the middle school level, we very purposely created a lot of unique course experiences that make sure that kids have an introduction to all those things through our PLTW classes, through our environmental science and environmental technology classes. We have entrepreneurship also supported by RISE. And so we make sure that throughout the 3 years of middle school, our kids get exposure to all of those things. When they are 8th graders about to become freshmen, they have to choose 2 pathways that are going to be their initial, foray as they're going into high school. And so we want to make sure that that can be as educated a choice as possible by making sure they've had a taste.
Right.
And actually in 8th grade, we have 2 courses that are actual beginnings to pathways that every student gets, so that is under their belt. They have Introduction to Agriculture and Introduction to Engineering, which are technically high school classes that are the beginning of those particular pathways. So kids that choose that route have a head start.
Good.
So they're getting high school credit in middle school for those courses.
Yes, they can.
No, absolutely.
Wow, that's nice.
Yeah, and I know we've seen the raised gardens out here for the Intro to Agriculture, which is so
and we
fun.
have a chicken coop in the back.
Very good.
Right, very good. All right, so tell me a little bit about how the pathways that we have here in middle school, and they're not quite pathways, they're courses. what are we seeing with students when they enter high school? Are they feeling more prepared and knowing what they want to do when they go to high school? Or is it still, where they're having a little exploration as they're entering high school?
Honestly, it's both, because kids at this age sometimes they're unsure of what they want, even when they've had a little sampling of everything, or they change their mind frequently, which is also developmentally appropriate and okay, but we want to give them as much of a leg up as possible. So I would say that yes, the fact that our 8th graders have to choose 2 pathways and that they have enough experience to at least, have preliminary choices, puts our kids in really good position to be getting ready for trying to hone in on their future and what their passions are.
Well, and Dr. Nash, it makes me think back to the elementary, because you work a lot at K-5, and sampling the different career explorations and pathways. Can you just talk a little bit to how that feeds into what Maria's doing at middle school?
Sure.
So we can kind of see what it is that students are getting K-8 here today, right?
Correct. And I was just thinking of that as you were talking, Maria, that at the K-5 level, I have the 5 pathways. You have 7, we have 5, and every project is related to those 5 pathways, whether it be the engineering, whether it be the entrepreneurship. So they're being very exposed to each of those 5 pathways, as well as one of the things I was thinking about too, was the World of Works that we're going to be using curriculum, where the students are exploring doing interest profiles and all of those things. That will be school-wide for us. I thought it was going to be district-wise, so all the students will take a profile of what are my interests, and then those interest profiles feed into, well, here are careers you might want to think about or research and be exposed to. So there's all those elements, as well as these 5 pathways at the K-5 level. So the students will be coming with that language, with that understanding what those pathways are and what their interests are when they start arriving here.
Yes.
And Dr. Nash, is that the RIASEC that you're talking about? Can you just talk a little bit more about the RIASEC? Because I'm not sure that our audience will understand what that is. And we've talked a little bit about the World of Work, and we went out to San Diego in the fall, and we've shared a lot about that here on the podcast. But speak a little bit more specifically to the RIASEC and how we get to know each student a little bit more uniquely because of that.
Sure. So they'll do this interest profile that I talked about, and each student, again, K-12, for sure K-8, will do an interest profile. Those interest responses will feed into what's called the RIASEC, R-I-A-S-E-C. And each of the letters stand for: R is realistic, C is communication, S is social, and so on. A is artistic. And so those responses to here's my response, I realize I'm being a teacher at this moment. Those responses will feed into each of those categories, those 6 categories, which then, like for realistic, here are the career pieces to be exposed if you're interested in the realistic piece. If you're a social person, here are careers for that piece. So we'll have individual profiles that feed into those pieces, and I'll be able to, as maker manager, then, this class has a lot of people interested in artistic careers, and so I can look at those and encourage them and expose them to that in the maker space, and work with the teams and their teachers to also emphasize those pieces, because it'll be information that's accessible not just to myself or administration, but to obviously each of the teachers, and the students will know as well. If again I have, say I'm an RAS, because I can keep those in my mind, then I will end up having my program that I work on each day for 10, 15, 20 minutes each day. It will also feed in activities and research that I can read and pursue as well. So it'll be a nice program to truly join all the pathways and curriculum together. I'm very excited.
Yeah, very good. And so, Maria, just a quick question, that just kind of segues into our next question. Are there initiatives or pieces that you're looking towards next year to enhance the experiential learning at middle school? Or what's next year going to look like?
Yeah, I would say one of the unique facets of our middle school are some of those courses that are designed to give kids experiential learning experiences and also introduce them to the pathway so they can start thinking about their future. And a lot of those courses are tied to our environmental center. So we sit on some acreage. We're very, very fortunate to do that. And so through the environmental technology classes and the environmental science and the PLTW classes, and agriculture, like we were talking about too, kids are actually out and working like in the fields and in the forest. And we have projects that are continuing to evolve that develop the environmental center, where the kids are from the design process all the way through using the tools to literally clear the land and build the center, and create the sign and to use the makerspace, like that are going to be, tying it all together. Right. And then the end product will be an environmental center that the students will run as well. So.
Yeah, no, and I appreciate you talking about the environmental center, because we're going to have Vera Jones, our curriculum director, on later on, and she'll talk more about that, but the experiential learning that takes place there. And I know that you had recently shared some information that you might be interested in bringing, TED Talks to middle school. Is there anything that you would like to elaborate on that and what that might look like?
I think that, this all lends itself to, and I've always been a huge proponent of student voice. And again, the idea that the students work on the environmental center, that ownership, that, that investment in something, and then the joy and pride that comes from seeing the results. So TED Talks, and I learned about this at the World of Works conference. They have an entire curriculum for which you can, teach students how to produce and create a TED Talk. And where students are given the opportunity to share their stories, and how students discovered in California that their stories, which they thought were nothing spectacular, are really amazing stories.
Yes. Very powerful.
Very, very powerful, and that a lot of people can relate to the things that they're going through. And so I really am hoping to be able to bring that here. I'm thinking about if we're accepted and we get the curriculum, starting it as an after-school club, but where students, again, have the opportunity to have voice and to share their stories. But I also am very interested in making sure that they have the experience of learning from production on how to, to create a TED Talk.
That would be exciting.
So that would be really great. I would be excited about that.
Yeah, no, that would be wonderful. I appreciate you sharing that.
Yes.
Well, it is that time, ladies. We are going to have to go to a commercial break, so we will be right back, and we will be wrapping up with Miss Maria Riley.
This message has been brought to you by Robotic Summer Cleanup in the Loft. That was a message from Robotic Summer Cleanup in the Loft. Now back to our program.
Welcome back to Learn Outside. We are here once again with Miss Maria Riley, our middle school principal at the Career Academy. And we are wrapping up with our final question. And our question is, what has been your aha moment with leading the work here at Career Middle School?
Yeah, so we have a 7th grade culminating project in the environmental technology class, which to me just was the perfect example of pulling it all together. So these lawn ornaments, the 7th graders, 13-year-olds, made. So they used Tinkercad to design the initial design, and then they used a plasma cutter to cut it out, and then they welded it onto the stem, and they used a hydraulic press for some of them to bend the butterfly or to bend the stem depending on, and then they glazed it to make these beautiful lawn ornaments. And as I'm watching this, first of all, I'm just highly impressed by these young people that can use machinery that I certainly don't know how to use and that adults don't know how to use, and feeling like they're already on their way to, being exposed to skills that could lead to careers for them. But I also watched students who traditionally struggle academically or behaviorally absolutely shine and soar. And I think about how, that experience in the shop, has maybe tapped into something that might lead to, a future for them. It might even, frankly, keep them in school and keep them excited and, give them the opportunity to have a really successful career. So it just tied it all together for me. It was very exciting.
Yeah, no, quite rewarding. And something that we say continuously is that we should not be doing for students what students can do for themselves. And we will always do that. And that is what leads experiential learning and this whole Learn Outside model that we are doing. Because students are capable of doing this.
So much more.
So much more. And these are middle school students. that are designing on CAD, that are cutting out with CNC plasma cutters and water jet cutters, welding, hydraulic presses. It's fantastic.
13-year-olds.
13-year-olds kind of blows your mind.
It is, yeah.
I walk in those welding booths and I see them and I'm just amazed. Yes.
Yeah, and to have that experience where these then are being sold as entrepreneurship.
Yes.
And I mean, I know I have a bunch of these in my flower garden at home, so
They
I
make
love
great
them.
gifts.
Yeah.
They do. Yes. So if anybody's interested, it is a fundraiser and we are selling them for $20 a piece. So
Or 3 for $50.
or 3 for $50. Yes. We like a good deal, right?
That's right.
Yes. Well, Miss Maria Riley, we are so
Thank you.
thankful to have you with us today. We appreciate all that you're doing, your wisdom, your leadership has been absolutely incredible.
Well, thank you for having me and letting me brag about my students and my teachers a little bit.
Yes, no, and we
Yeah,
will have
you're
you back
amazing.
again. Yes, for sure.
You were a superhero.
Thank you.
Yes. And so with that, we want to talk about next week. We are going to have Miss Vera Jones. She is our curriculum director, and she is who started our Enviro Center here at the Career Academy that Maria had shared about earlier. And so looking forward to having Vera Jones on next week. So everybody have a joyous Learn Outside week.
Thank you.
Thanks.